Some nights, the world shrinks down to a single decision. A choice made in the space between one breath and the next. A moment when someone who wasn't looking for anything suddenly becomes the only thing standing between a stranger and the darkness. This is one of those nights. Late winter, 1967. Route 66. Albuquerque, New Mexico. And Waylon Jennings, 29 years old, walking into a roadside café at 2 a.m. and seeing something most people would have missed. The original Owl Cafe sits on the edge of the highway, like it's been there forever. And in a way, it has. Opened in 1947. 20 years of serving truckers and musicians and people passing through in the middle of the night when sleep won't come and home feels too far away. The neon owl sign in the window hums and flickers, casting pink and blue light across the empty parking lot. A few cars scattered here and there. A semi parked off to the side, driver probably sleeping in the cab. The kind of place that exists in the gaps between destinations. Not where you're going, just where you stop. Waylon's tour bus is parked out front. Show ended hours ago. Somewhere in town. Maybe the Civic Auditorium. Maybe a smaller venue. Doesn't matter. The show's over. The crowd's gone home. And now it's just the road and the bus and the long stretch of hours before the next city, the next stage, the next night of playing songs for people who don't know how tired you are. He's been on the road for months, maybe longer. Time blurs when you're living out of a bus and sleeping in 2-hour chunks between shows. This is 1967. Waylon Jennings is not famous yet. Not the way he will be. He's working, grinding, playing every night, because that's what you do when you're trying to build something that doesn't exist yet. The outlaw country movement is still years away. Right now, he's just a singer from Texas, with a voice like gravel and a work ethic that won't let him stop. He's also running on amphetamines, not recreationally, functionally, the way half the industry did back then. Pills to stay awake, pills to keep moving, pills to make it through another 16-hour day when your body wants to quit. It's not something people talked about. It's just what you did if you wanted to survive the schedule. And Waylon is surviving. Barely, but surviving. He steps off the bus and into the cold New Mexico night. February, maybe March. The kind of cold that cuts through your jacket and reminds you that desert nights don't care how hot the days get. His boots hit the pavement. The cafe is right there, lights on, door unlocked. And inside, through the window, he can see the long counter, the cracked vinyl booths, the waitress wiping down tables even though there's almost nobody left to serve. Waylon pushes the door open. A bell jingles above his head. Old-fashioned. The kind of sound that belongs to a different era, but somehow still fits. The air inside is warm. Almost too warm after the cold outside. It smells like burnt coffee and bacon grease and cigarettes. Not unpleasant, just real. The way diners used to smell before everything got cleaned up and regulated. There are maybe 3 other people in the whole place. A trucker at the far end of the counter, hunched over a plate of eggs, not looking up. An older couple in a booth near the back, speaking quietly to each other, their voices too low to hear. And at the counter, 2 stools down from the trucker, a woman sitting alone. Waylon doesn't think much of it at first, just another person stopping in the middle of the night because sleep won't come or the road got too long. He slides onto a stool a few seats away. The waitress comes over, middle-aged, tired but professional. The kind of woman who's worked the graveyard shift long enough to stop asking questions about why people are awake at this hour. Coffee, she asks. Yeah, black. She pours, sets the cup down, moves on. Waylon wraps his hands around the cup, feels the heat, stares at nothing in particular. Just sitting, just being still for the first time in hours. The amphetamines are wearing off, the crash is coming. That hollow feeling that follows the artificial energy. The exhaustion that's been waiting underneath the whole time. And then he notices her, the woman 2 stools down. Not because she's doing anything, because she's not. Her coffee sits in front of her, untouched, full, still steaming, like it's been there for 10 minutes and she hasn't lifted the cup once. Her hands are folded in her lap, not fidgeting, not tapping, just still. Her purse sits on the counter next to the coffee, closed. She's staring straight ahead, not at anything, just forward, like she's looking through the wall instead of at it. Most people wouldn't notice. Most people would see a tired woman sitting alone in a diner and think nothing of it. But Waylon notices, because he's spent enough time in the dark hours to know what different kinds of silence look like. And this silence isn't tired. It's decided. Panic looks loud, frantic, shaking hands and rapid breathing and eyes that can't focus. Decision looks quiet, calm, like someone who's already made up their mind and is just waiting for the right moment to act on it. Waylon doesn't move. Not yet. He just watches, not staring, just aware, the way you're aware of a storm building on the horizon. The woman hasn't touched her coffee, hasn't opened her purse, hasn't looked at anyone, and her body language isn't tense. It's settled, like someone who's already past the point of negotiation. He doesn't know her name, doesn't know her story, doesn't know what brought her to this café at 2 a.m, but he knows what he's seeing, and he knows, with the kind of certainty that doesn't require explanation, that if he gets up and leaves right now, she won't be here tomorrow. So he doesn't leave. Instead, he stands up, slow, deliberate, picks up his coffee cup, walks the 3 steps to where she's sitting, and without asking permission, without saying a word, he pulls out the stool next to her and sits down. She doesn't look at him, doesn't react, just keeps staring forward like he's not even there. Waylon sets his coffee down, leans his elbows on the counter, and says, quiet and even, "Coffee's getting cold." It's not a question, not advice, just an observation, a statement of fact. The kind of thing you say when you're not trying to start a conversation, just acknowledging that someone else exists in the same space as you. For a long moment, she doesn't respond. The café hums around them. The trucker scrapes his fork across his plate. The couple in the back booth laughs softly about something. The waitress refills the coffee maker. Normal sounds. Life continuing like nothing's wrong. And then the woman speaks. Her voice is flat, empty, not sad, just absent. Doesn't matter. 2 words, that's all. But Waylon hears everything underneath them, the weight, the exhaustion, the finality. He doesn't argue, doesn't try to contradict her, doesn't offer platitudes about things getting better or tomorrow being a new day, because he knows those words don't mean anything to someone who's already made up their mind. You don't talk someone out of the edge with speeches. You just change the moment, interrupt the timeline, force a pause where there wasn't one before. So instead of talking, Waylon raises his hand, catches the waitress's attention. She comes over, pen and pad ready. 2 orders of eggs, he says. Scrambled, toast, more coffee. The waitress writes it down, looks at the woman. That work for you, hun? The woman doesn't respond, just sits there, staring. She's good, Waylon says. Just bring it. The waitress nods, walks away. And now there's a different kind of silence. Not the silence of decision, the silence of interruption, of something unexpected happening that doesn't fit the plan. Waylon doesn't fill the silence with words. He just sits there, drinks his coffee, waits, not for her to talk, not for her to explain, just waits for the food to arrive. Because sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is refuse to let someone be alone with their thoughts. 5 minutes pass, maybe 10. The trucker finishes his eggs and leaves, drops cash on the counter. Bell jingles as the door closes behind him. The older couple pays their bill and shuffles out into the night. Now it's just Waylon, the woman, and the waitress restocking napkins at the far end of the counter. The food arrives. 2 plates, eggs, toast, steam rising. The waitress sets them down, refills both coffee cups, walks away without comment. Waylon picks up his fork, starts eating. Not fast, not making a show of it, just eating. Like this is normal. Like sitting next to a stranger at 2 a.m. in a roadside café and ordering breakfast for both of them is the most natural thing in the world. The woman doesn't touch her plate, just keeps staring. But she's not staring through the wall anymore. She's staring at the food, at the steam, at the fork sitting next to the plate, at the interruption. Minutes pass. The eggs are getting cold. Waylon keeps eating, not talking, not pushing, just being there, occupying the space next to her so she's not alone with whatever darkness was waiting for her outside this building. And then, so quietly, he almost doesn't hear it, she picks up her fork. She doesn't eat. Not right away. Just holds the fork. Feels the weight of it. Looks at the eggs like she's trying to remember what they're for. And then, slowly, she takes a bite. One bite. Then another. Not because she's hungry. Because the moment changed. Because something interrupted the plan, and now there's food in front of her, and someone sitting next to her who didn't ask questions or demand explanations. Someone who just sat down and ordered breakfast like her life wasn't about to end. They eat in silence. Both of them. The cafe is almost completely quiet now. Just the hum of the refrigerator, the occasional clink of silverware on plates, the sound of 2 people eating eggs at 2 a.m. for reasons neither of them will ever explain. When the plates are empty, Waylon pulls out his wallet, drops cash on the counter. Enough for both meals. Enough for a tip that's bigger than it needs to be. He stands up, looks at her, not with pity, not with concern, just looks at her the way one person acknowledges another person, like she's real, like she matters. Road's long, he says, but breakfast helps. And then he walks out. Doesn't wait for a response. Doesn't ask if she's okay. Doesn't try to fix anything or save anything or claim credit for anything. Just walks out into the cold New Mexico night, gets back on the bus, and disappears into the darkness toward the next town. The woman sits at the counter, alone again, but different now. The moment passed. The decision interrupted. And whatever was waiting for her outside that café will have to wait a little longer. Maybe forever. Because sometimes all it takes is one person refusing to let the night decide. One person who sees what everyone else misses and does something about it, without needing applause or explanation. Waylon Jennings never told this story, never claimed credit, never turned it into a lesson or a parable or proof of his character. Because real men don't do the right thing for the story. They do it because it's right. And then they move on. That's the outlaw way. Not loud rebellion, not breaking rules for attention, but living by an internal code that doesn't bend. Seeing someone at the edge and refusing to walk past. Acting without hesitation. Moving without permission. And never ever needing the world to know about it. That's what real courage looks like. Not dramatic, not celebrated, just decisive. A man who sees what needs to be done and does it, then walks away. Because the doing is enough. The living is enough. And if you're still here tomorrow, that's all the proof you need that it mattered. Late winter, 1967. The original Owl Cafe. Route 66. 2 plates of eggs. In a moment that nobody knows about except the people who were there. That's how it should be. That's how it was. And that's why, 50 years later, it still matters.